Should we have the music in the background, or do we care?
Of course.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to get started, guys. Welcome to the first Love Your Library 2012 event. It's our first lecture in a series that's going to be going on through May. So you can have a look on the website, take one of the flyers that we handed out, and we have some really interesting things coming up about once a month until May. We're thrilled to have Andre Walker with us today.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Our Love Your Library is what we've called it this year is Sustain Your Vision Working in the Arts. And to say that he is a working artist with creative vision is an understatement. He has worked as a fashion designer, a design consultant, a creative director, an art and style director for video and film, and a freelance editor for such publications as Dazed and Confused, L'Officiel, Interview Magazine, and another magazine, all of which we have in the periodicals collection here at F.I.T.
There's some good shoots in self-service to ID. Did you mention ID?
I didn't mention ID.
There's some sick stuff in self-service, you know, for greedy research people. You know what I mean?
I'm going to continue to talk about your past a little bit. He designed his first apparel collection at the age of 15, so he was just a young blood. He later moved to Paris and established his own label. He's worked with Marc Jacobs and as a design consultant, and he currently collaborates with Kim Jones at Louis Vuitton. In 2007, he embarked on a new project, creating this dynamic print entitled, it's a print edition entitled TIWIMUTA, and it means that is what it made us think about. And he's here today to share his vision with us. And we have the first 2 copies of it in our special collections. If you want to come by, you need to make an appointment to look at it. But afterwards, please stick around and have a look. So I'll turn it over to Andre.
Greatness. Thanks, Leslie. Okay, so I have a brief outline here, and I'm going to read it. And it says, Andre starts out, intro to audience with background information. Inspiration during youth, schooling, training, brief bio, talk about designing your own label, moving to Paris and creating your own collection, consulting for MJ and KJ, research at library was key, how you became involved in publishing, how the name TIWIMUTA came to exist, the process in choosing collaborators/contributors, the creative process in selecting and combining all the elements that went into volume 1 and 2 of TIWIMUTA, tactile versus digital, and future of bound publications. And so, you know, I think all that doesn't really make sense anymore now that we're all here together. So just let me know, like, I think it would be better if you ask me questions or you let me know where you want me to go with the information, like however you feel it. Any questions, or because I don't really know what or where to start. So I think it would be better if I start where you want me to start. So let's talk.
Yeah, I'm not starting at the beginning, but I'm most intrigued that you did all these things and now you're in the realm of books. I'm a bookbinder, so this is
fantastic.
My thing. So I'm kind of interested to know, how do you do all these things and now how did that transition into book form for you?
How did it transition into book form? All of those activities, what's the word you use? Transformed, transitioned, yeah. How did it transition into bookmaking? Well, the way I design a collection, this is kind of important to know, is I've been using these amazing books of, I guess, Arches paper, and it's a watercolor paper, and I use those books to design my collections. And usually before I start drawing, I write, and I write Like one season I might write crepusculative. Crepusculative was a term that I came up with, which was the brainchild of a conversation I was having with an artist. And she was talking about creativity and how a lot of contemporary art is bullshit and it's like of no use. And I was like, well, you know, listening to her, I just wanted to disprove that, you know, any of this is garbage or crap, or as she called it, bullshit. And I was like, well, you know what? Why don't I just take those two words, creative and bullshit, and put them together? And I came up with crepusculative. And so I made use of the word crepusculative to start that was like my design engine for the collection for 2002. And so somehow I'm always turning pages in order to get to the idea. And bookmaking is just kind of a natural part of the process for me, sincerely. I like to imagine that I have come up with the idea myself and that there's nothing else that exists before it, that it's some kind of like, that it's the first and it's never been done before, which is, I guess, almost impossible because you have the format which exists in so many different areas. I mean, a dress is a dress is a dress is a book is a building is a whatever we have, you know? So bookmaking was always a natural part of the process for me. It was not foreign at all. As far as like the kind of multidisciplinary aspect of my activities, I feel like I've been so super distracted for all my life that I finally make sense somehow to even myself and you know, the society that we live in. I mean, I was extremely at odds with society in the 80s when I was like 15. I mean, in 1980, I was like, what, 13 years old? So, you know, I have no idea what I was doing, but I can tell you this. I was reading W magazine because my mom had a subscription to W magazine. It was when it was a huge fold-out. Does anyone remember that here? When W magazine was a huge fold-out, and you'd have like 400 or 400 tiny images on 2 pages, like of the size of the New York Times. It was like maddening for me. And there I was like in Brooklyn looking at like Jean-Claude Deluca, Thierry Mugler, Anne-Marie Beretta, all these amazing designers. And I was like, oh my God, these people are having an amazing party. For the longest time, I thought that Chloe was the name of the girl in the photograph. But when I realized that that girl in the other photograph was not the same as the other girl, I was like, well, I don't understand what's going on. You know what I mean? So it was super interesting. And I was reading W when I was 9. So I'm a real fashion mess. Like from the beginning, like super, no bones about it. Like I love fashion and bookmaking, fashion, art, dance, music, history, conversation, the evolution of like social behavior is all the same difference to me, and it all kind of lends itself to the eventual manifestation of whichever creative realm I'm applying myself to, or my creative process to. So, to answer your question, I don't know if that helps, but that's the answer. Yeah. So, I don't see any. I don't ever see a boundary. I mean, it's all the same for me. I mean.
Well, is the book at the end your first book that you made, or one of the first, the one that's sort of fabric?
Yeah, I mean, I can pull them over here. Whoop. Here we have that. Swoosh. This was the inspiration for this. I found this at an amazing bookstore in the West Village, and it's a museum catalog from the Museum of Modern Art, and it's titled The Machine. It's all about kinetic sculpture, and that kind of runs through like 30s Tingley to Duchamp to everything. It's kind of like art history there. And it's an amazing, amazing book, and I was freaking out about the cover because I've always loved Danish cookies, butter cookies. Do you know what I mean? You see how everything gets mixed up, right? So I just felt like for my first magazine, I had to have a metal cover. And here on my metal cover, I used one of my childhood games, which was like the Gerden panel building set, which kind of I was obsessed with when I was a kid, and I was making skyscrapers and buildings all the time. So I just used this as the mascot for the magazine. And what Edith Hughes, who's the cover girl, is building here is the Dead Poets Society Relief Unit. Now, the Dead Poets Society Relief Unit is a fictitious organization that I came up with just to kind of relinquish some of the horror of like my childhood. And the fight that I had with my mom, who was worried about me becoming homosexual, and didn't want me to go to fashion school. Yeah, so I was wrecked. And meanwhile, I've been like sketching, you know, platform shoes and drawing clothes when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old. Like, yeah, I was in love with fashion. It was really, just came so naturally to me. And so here we have the building of the Dead Poets Society Relief Unit on the first issue of TIWIMUTA. And it just kind of, you know, I don't know, it's very much like the way I work is like a stream of consciousness. I mean, sometimes I feel like, oh my God, like I have no direction, yet it's never the case, because if you're actually making something, there's going to be a direction at some point. And now I have like an accumulation of that direction in front of me, even though I didn't know what I was doing at the time. So it's quite cool. Yeah, it's great, because it's like a lot of time like you're guessing. It's just kind of like this energy that you have, and you want to contribute, you want to participate, and you don't know exactly what you want to do. So it's cool to kind of choose something to do, because that'll actually give you the focus that you don't have. You know what I mean? Like, so here we have a book, and this is another book. So it makes me appear focused, even though I'm not. You know what I mean? So it's cool. Hi. Any other questions, guys?
So in the second volume there, or either one of the volumes.
Oh, yes.
What, from like an editing point of view, was it just sort of a free-for-all? Whoever wanted to participate could, and then you said, great, let's do it, and then you put it together in the book, and then...
Oh, can I just say, I think some people don't know what the content of the book is, so maybe you could tell them what the content of the books are.
Well, the contents of the book, I mean, like, this is how it started, right? How did we get the name TIWIMUTA, for example? Like, it sounded like some kind of South Sea island to me. I was like, oh my God, we've got to go with this. But it's an acronym for this is what it made us think about. So once again, it's like coming from the direct essence, and I knew that the title would actually uphold the concept of the collaborative efforts and of the book as well, because I would invite people for this issue, and I'd say, I want you to do something for my magazine. And they'd be like, well, what do you want me to do, Andre? And I'd say, like, I don't know, but just don't tell me what you're working on, because I don't want to know anything until the work comes in. Because that's kind of how I work. You know, it's like, if I knew what they were going to do, it would distract me. And I would be bored by, like, I have a very short attention span. So That's what this issue was based on. So I invited Mark Jacobs. Who else did we invite? Everybody. Oh my God, has anyone seen this book here? Oh my God, this is useless. Come on, look. Well here, this is one copy. Pass it around. There's another copy here. So you can peruse that. I mean, it's pretty sick. So you should see that, you know, just for your own knowledge. Feel free to like slam those pages down and open as you like. And what was really cool about that, tell me.
Are these books available in our library?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so coming back to the concept of TIWIMUTA, at the same time I knew I'd be like creating a community for unknown artists, for design luminaries, notables, and like just free floating figures of my interest to collaborate within this project. And that's what was really exciting for me. So at the same time, TIWIMUTA serves as a medium for unknown artists, hugely successful artists and designers and creative people, and people I meet on the sidewalk, like any number of people. I just love the idea that people are so often fooled by the form. So you have this book that is $375, which is worth like maybe a lot more. But I didn't want to charge. I didn't want the book to be like $2,000 or something like that. I thought that would be ridiculous. So I charged what the book cost. Book cost like $240 to make, and I lost money making the book. But the book is not about luxury. The book is about a dream. It's about a desire and a passion to make something that seems so completely improbable and impossible to make. I just want to prove to myself that it could exist, and prove to another audience that that it could exist as well. Because that's kind of how, that's my process of, that's how I first was inspired. When I was gazing at, like, you know, multicolored leathers of my mother's shoes that she would bring from Italy when she was dancing there as a go-go dancer. You know, like, I would be like, well, how'd they get all those colors into the leather? And it's not patchwork, but you know what I mean? Like, so I love that idea of just being confounded. And I mean, nowadays, I feel like there is so much fashion and there's so much consumption that I want to make everything that I do special and have a reason, like that I can actually stand behind. I feel like magazines like Vogue, like they should really not even bother to print anymore, because it's like, it's just a cumulative waste, as far as I'm concerned. I don't mind the contents of the magazine, yet I honestly feel like they do not need to print. Whereas I feel like a magazine like this, I mean, or something like Visionaire, or Purple, or Garage, they have a reason to exist, because not just a catalog. And that's kind of presumptuous as well, even as a viewpoint, because who am I to say that what I'm making is worthy, simply because it has a lot of different beautiful textures and textile presence and printing techniques. Yet I think it does double as a work of art and a piece of art as well. So on that level, I can stand behind it existing. And I don't know, I love coming to the F.I.T. library because once again, you have that opportunity to like look through all of this work that I didn't know existed, and find a reason to continue to work. I mean, obviously I use the library for my design consulting and image banks and things like that. Yet what's beautiful about bookmaking is like you have it's your own world. It's totally up to you. And I see so many people like when I look at like style.com or something, or like I'm looking through all the collections, I like kind of review like 400 or 500 collections a season, and just so I know what not to do and to stay abreast of what's going on. And it's like, I don't see why half of these people even bother. I really don't. I swear to God, it's like, get over it. It's like being a designer is like, it's really, I don't think being a designer is like being a nurse, or it's not like of huge importance. And I think things like the contemporary arts, and fashion design, architecture, design, I think these things can be used to actually communicate something more than consumptive values and traditions. I think now that we're in 2012 and we've seen so much of like the history kind of overload itself and reevaluate itself and like take this cyclical approach to like its own regeneration, now I believe that it's time for us to take a look again and see how we really want to proceed. Because a lot of the myths from 300 years ago they have no validity, because they didn't even know 300 years ago that a lot of our resources were finite. So we can't really base ourselves anymore on history. I don't know how important history is anymore in fashion. Aesthetically, fine, no problem. I mean, I have no problem like with imagery, looks, but how we get there is another case altogether. I think it's a good time for some responsible thinking. I mean, we can even be fooled by, it's nice. I mean, I just saw the Marc Jacobs collection. I just saw Prada too today. It was fabulous. Prada was really good. I mean, I'm not talking about like, it's not because they're Prada that I thought it was good, but I love that she didn't do any of those boring knee pleated skirts anymore, and like the whole silhouette was new, and like everything is like shifting, and it's just so good, you know? And it's amazing, like even me, who's like totally like, oh, I think collections should only have 10 outfits. There should be like a minimum of 10 outfits per collection internationally, because sincerely, we really don't need any more clothes. This, we know. I mean, everyone knows that. You would not have to make another collection again to need another new set of collections. And here we are at F.I.T, and we've got this whole institution of teacher kids waiting to come out with their 75 looks, like 100 people making 75 looks internationally, times 50. That's too many clothes, you know what I mean? So it's like, what are we gonna do? And, you know, making magazines kind of forces you to think about things. And that second issue, that yellow issue, I call The Weight of the World. And that issue started just from me thinking like, oh my God, oh right. It was a Christian Boltanski exhibition at the Park Avenue Armory. Did anyone see that here? That was a fantastic exhibition. They had a huge pile of clothes like that were being lifted sporadically by a crane and dumped into certain areas. And all the clothes were laid out as if like, almost like a burial ground. I think there was some kind of Auschwitzian reference to it. I didn't read the catalog, but just seeing that huge amount of clothing there was just like so powerful, and I was like, wow, this is really intense. And I thought about it, I was like, God, how many clothes exist in the world? Like clothes by surely outnumber people. And I just think it's really interesting. I think for the future of fashion, even though it's difficult to imagine, like, well, what are we gonna do? Like, fashion is based on consumption, right? So, like, I just feel like if we start addressing it, we'll start thinking about things, you know, like maybe one dress has a life of has 9 lives. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of things to chew on and to think about in fashion now for like the serious hardcore fashion lover. Because if you really love fashion, now is not the time just to be kind of like wasting fabric and communication and money with doing like totally irrelevant collections. Hello, my darling.
You work with really amazing giants of fashion industry.
Say this again?
You work with so many giants of fashion industry.
Uh-huh.
And the particular ones that I'm really curious about are the African Americans that really made a historical impact.
Right.
Willie Smith and Patrick Kelly. And I was so impressed that you had history with these two amazing designers.
Of course.
What did you get out of your experience with these designers? And I guess my second question is, who do you find to be the ethnic designers that are making a similar impact in fashion history?
Well, this is something that that's a really wonderful question because basically, to set you straight, I've never, ever, ever worked with Patrick Kelly. But that was erroneously cited in an article in the New York Times like a year ago. But I've never, ever worked with him. That was a super mistake. And I totally I'm screaming at him right now again, the journalist. It's like, oh my God. So, Willie Smith. I love Willie Smith. That's like a part of my childhood, and I actually knew Willie Smith. And I actually started working with Willie Smith, I think in 1989. It was like maybe 2 years after he died or something. I think he died in 1987. I'm not sure when he died. And Willie Smith, for me, was a great designer because he actually was able to distract his public and make them forget about him and concentrate on who they might want to be via his contribution and his clothing. And I think that's what most really good designers do. I don't know. That's kind of that's my mindset as to what a really great designer can be, you know?
Do you think
Right.
that happens with Marc Jacobs?
Oh, absolutely. Marc Jacobs is one of the best designers ever. People complain that, oh, he doesn't have any style, he doesn't do this, blah, blah, blah. Not important. What is great about Marc Jacobs is his level to distract. And I know I'm greatly responsible for him making that transition to this type of methodology of like changing looks every season, which has now become kind of a very important survival tactic for designers and big industrial designers as well. That's been happening in high fashion now for a while. Maybe in 5 years it'll switch again to being able to continually recognize the signature of the designer. But the word collection is a very important word because when you think of a collection and you go to maybe the African collection at the Met or any museum or any book collection, you would not want to collect, I mean, I don't know. A collection means a collection. And there's some kind of reason to collect these things. So I think designers are realizing, okay, if you own 15 Michael Kors dresses or coats or pieces, it's not going to be that urgent to consume Michael Kors, but it's super urgent to consume Marc Jacobs or Prada or Balenciaga or Rick Owens because these are real thinkers and they're making real offerings. And there's a reason to collect. Based on your personality, of course. But of course, if you're the personality that likes to kind of be, you know, like stationary and, you know, you have a classic image of yourself, or you want to retain a certain image and backdrop of what you represent, then of course you can continue to wear the same clothes and the same styles all the time. You know, you have your knee-length skirt, you have your little polo shirt, you have your little plaid scarf, and you just pump out the window and you buy five of those things every season. You just continue like that. Yet fashion is about discovery, and the mental process of you know, the psychology of fashion, I believe, is that it allows us, like the relations that we have in life, like the discoveries that we make with the exchanges that we have with people, to grow. So, you know, at one point, if your mother is going to remain an enemy or a villain in your life, or your father, what good is that? At one point you have to escape these things. That's why we have therapy. You know what I mean? Like, or eschew them eventually. You know what I mean? So it's, I think it's very interesting that, you know, like, I think there's a really neat underbelly that's continually expanding and evolving and waiting to grow in fashion, you know? And even within the perception, the way you see people, you know? I was saying to someone the other day, it's like, we all have so much, we have a huge responsibility. I mean, whether it's like, you know, being able to breathe when you bump into someone in the street by accident and say, excuse me, or looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I accept yourself, or I accept you, you know, there are lots of different things that we all personally want to make happen for ourselves, you know? And fashion is one of the great ways of doing that, and so is bookmaking, so is thinking, so is writing, so is philosophy, so is everything. That's why I love Rene Descartes, because he's sick. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh my God, you're reading something from someone and you're like, wow, I can't believe that was written like 200 years ago, because it's intense. And that's kind of what fashion does. It's a communicator. And you know, now we have a big issue in, not only in fashion, but in life. And Carlos told me not to talk about this stuff. But I feel like fashion has a system of power behind it, and it's very important to pay attention to that system of power, because you have other bodies at work in the same way. I mean the huge deception that we've all witnessed now, as just from watching the news, it's kind of disheartening, because a lot of the things that we believed, we know are not necessarily true, or the way that people are, what we're being shown as in society is not true. I mean, whether it's the FDA or Monsanto or the Codex Elementaris or any of these things, they're huge deceptions that, for me, I think actually serve as like creative resources. And I think it's time that, you know, we can't just sit back and think it's all about sequin dress and it's all about my dress on the red carpet. It's like, sure, that'll make us the money, it'll give us the house, it'll give us the glamour, but we can have all those, we can have the glamour and we can have something else too. And I think that's really my main excitement for being here. That's really what I wanted to talk about. But you guys should let me know if you want to know anything else, you know?
About growing up in Brooklyn, you know, in
Of course.
late 70s to 80s, and you said your mother, was she kind of your main fashion influence?
Oh my God, I love my mother. My mother was like outrageous. She was wearing Bill Gates, Jean Valjean, Bill Gibb, Zandra Rhodes. My mother was ridiculous. I have no idea. I mean, my mother's kind of like myself. I don't know how she happened. And I really, you know, she's just an amazing woman, super ambitious. She owns property, she's buying buildings, she's opening beauty salons, buying houses. She's ridiculous. I mean, my dad, on the other hand, total shockwave, sleeping in bed, whoosh, drinks with ice. Outrageous, you know? But like, that's what's so interesting. Like, my parents were divorced I made sure my parents were divorced, actually. In 1988 or something like that, and they got back together, they remarried. So the amount of optimism that is in my life is kind of like really just so unbelievable. And I kind of feel like that is my reflection. It reflects in my work as well. Because I've had many ups and downs. Trust me, I'm not here like floating on any kind of magic carpet. I've done the whole Van Gogh number. Yeah, like, forget about it. Like, I have. Trust me. And you know, that's what's beautiful. Like, when you can actually, when you notice what passion is, and you realize, oh my God, I actually don't even need to be passionate, because I am passionate. And if I was not passionate and I was trying to explain to someone how to be passionate who was not passionate, I would tell them that just read and just find out about it through someone else. If you're not a passionate person, read a book and find out what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? But seriously, because it's like, there's nothing to be, I'm not jealous of anything. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not jealous of a conservative person. I'm not jealous of a wealthy person. I'm not jealous of like aristocrats or poor people or people that are cool or people that are beautiful or people that because it's like, has nothing to do. That's all imagery. What is important is the interaction and the way that you take all of this information and make use of it and share it within your life and what you bring out with yourself. You know, that's kind of the key. That's what will actually release you from the prison of your mind and the associations that you're making that are bringing you down or bringing your perceptions down. So I feel like it's an incredible time now to be totally like to distance yourself from kind of emotional and problematic thinking and just kind of deciding what you want to see, deciding what you want to do. What do you want to do? You want to just, then that's fine too. You know what I mean? Yet, I feel like there's a way to move forward and be super, you know, satisfy yourself and bring the satisfaction to other people as well, for sure. Like, any others? Questions?
What's your vision of yourself in 5 years or 10 years?
Well, all I'm interested in right now, I mean, now you know I've grown up, is a retirement project, which I thank God I'm working on the strategy for on the this coming weekend, and that's really good. I'm thinking about retiring. I'm thinking about not having to work so much because, yeah, I mean, who would think that in 2012 that, I mean, some of you guys are what, like 20, 21, 22? Who's 21 here? Anyone 21? Thank you. Anyone 22, 24, 25? Thank you. Boom. So when you're 25 or 21, you think, oh, when I'm 40, it's gonna be perfect. Everything's gonna be amazing. Oh, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be rich, I'm gonna have all my, oh, that's fantastic. And it's not true. So, if you wanna be rich, you wanna be amazing, you wanna be fantastic, by the time you're 40, start now, get intense now, don't wait. That's all I would have to say. I'm really, really a lucky person. I mean, my God. I mean, I swear to God, I mean, it's not like a Grammy Award, you know, and those kids are like, oh, I thank God for this. Oh my God. You know what I mean? It's not about that. It's like, I sincerely thank God every single day. I swear to God, because there's really, for me, no one else. Who am I going to thank? I can't thank myself. I swear, I can't not, you know, but I can thank someone else. And that's what we all have, and we all have that's what we have in ourselves. I mean, I think, don't get me started, you know, but it's good. I think there's a lot of, there's an amazing amount of value that we can all distribute and share with ourselves autonomously, just by ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, because everything that you see out there that you think is real has nothing to do with you anyway, you know what I mean? So it's up to you to decide what you are, what you do. And then once you base yourself on yourself, you can then take that, package it, and then have other people imagine that that's what you are, and it's still not what you are. But at least you have the form, and you have the product, and you can then eventually move on to communicating with people to let them know exactly what really is happening and what's going on. Because that's just the formality. And the formality is important.
When you're retired, you're going to travel, you're going to teach, you're going to what?
Well, I see myself,
Go to museums?
I don't know, I mean, I just know that I'm such a lazy cow that I want to I like to take 10 years to make something. I like to, you know what I mean? I like to look at things. I sit on the sidewalk for hours looking at people. I swear. Like, it's like, I do. And I work very hard as well. Yet, I need to have like the contrast, you know. I can't just work, communication, emailing people, your phone, and accountant, and no. I need it. Everyone's like that. We all take vacations for that reason, right? So you know, I kind of have infiltrated, found a way to have daily vacations and work continuously at the same time. So that's great.
So you are going to intend to continue the book, though, right?
Of course. Oh, yeah. And what's great, oh, yes, please, dear sir. Well, you said I was gonna continue. You asked me if I was gonna continue. I was about to say, that's what's so cool about TIWIMUTA. For me, I feel like it's a personalized, formal way of me presenting myself in society that it also allows me the time to make what I wanna make. If you feel like you can only do a collection every 2 years, order it, make it that way for yourself. Imply that. Communicate that to the people that you're working with. You know what I mean? Communicate that to your audience. Because it's all about the communication. I feel the only reason that any of this makes any sense to people now is because that's what they imagine that I am communicating. Because that's all that exists of what I do. It's like I've done 20 collections, excuse me. I've done 2 book projects, I've had collaboration fashion shoots, videos, whatever. And it's like, the reason I was doing it that way is because I had no idea of what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to do looks and come up with effects and do fashion and have a reason, you know, at times for that expression. But that is my medium, that is my art. So, yeah, you know, you can do whatever you want. If you don't want to do a fashion show, or if you don't want to be a journalist that has to report, you can always make your own parameters, for sure. And I'd love to know what your question was, dear sir.
I want in a sense to know more about you and how we can learn from you. You're obviously a person with great creativity, and I have the feeling maybe you just appeared, we're kind of a whole person.
That's called an aseity. There's a word for that. I found it last year. It's ASEITY. Something with no origin.
Others of us take a longer path to get there and need either mentors or a system of training, if you will, a college like this. So tell us a little more, tell me a little more about you. Did you just appear one day and you were a designer, or
Yes.
did you have pictures, or how did you get there?
Well, oh my God. Oh wow, you're gonna love this. I started making t-shirts, selling them outside of my mother's store. And I was cutting t-shirts because my mom had a friend called Lorna. She was working in the Olympic Towers. She was the secretary of an architect at the time. And she would take us to 6th Avenue, Bergdorf's, Metropolitan Museum of Art, Victor's Cafe at 77th Street, Columbus. And then we would, from uptown, pump down into downtown, go to Unique Clothing Warehouse, hang out in the West Village, Canal Jeans, every summer I would go away to London. I was on the top floor of the double-decker bus. I saw the red mohawk. I freaked out. And already, this is someone that has been making shoe designs and drawing my mom's shoes and clothes when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I feel like there was this constant implosion and reminder of something that I loved, you know? It was like, I feel like the carrot was always in front of my nose as far as like visual expression and fashion design is concerned. Fashion for me was never a business. So I never thought about it as business. I thought it was a party. I saw lights, and I saw legs, and I saw lipstick, and I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? This is like way too much for me. And I saw all these new names, and it was like incredible. And the fact that I was forced to go to Brooklyn Technical High School, which I was just furious about because I wanted to go to art and design. And I was just furious about the fact that I wanted to go to Brooklyn Technical High School, that I was forced to go there, was kind of like interesting because I was distracted there for like up until 11th grade because I was doing architectural rendering, which I loved. Like, that was like, you know, to be doing architectural rendering when you're 13 and 14 is amazing. It's like to be doing industrial pattern making, to have to do those drawings into the wood chips and things like that. So I guess that's an important part of my formation because in my case, that's like when it's the same as me being in college because that's where my education ended. Like I was on the road from 15, 16, 17. 17, really. Because by the time I was 17, I took my first girlfriend to Paris with me. And we ended up hanging out backstage at Vivienne Westwood's show. I was extremely hungry from a very early age, so maybe that's the rarity of, maybe that's what makes me seem like I just appeared. But it's just that it all started extremely, very early. And no case is different. I mean, I feel like I would love to see in fashion someone who starts designing and be like an amazing designer and a real like behavioral force for fashion at the age of 50 or 60. I'm waiting to see the new young designers that do their first collection at 60. You know what I mean? Like, boom, why not? Like, I don't think there are any boundaries. That's what fashion's about. Like, you can do anything. There's no need to be afraid about anything. Like, in fashion. That's really how I see it. The one thing I feel which is important is surround yourself with as many diverse characters as possible. You should definitely have one of each. You know what I mean? One of each. I mean, it's cool if you want to like hang out and like float on the snob scene. That's cool too. But it's like, you know, you have certain designers that do that, and it's like, it's what I was thinking today. Like, isn't that amazing? Like, you have designers like Parenza Schooler, which they're really cool, and it's like I feel like they're learning how to kind of vibe and to kind of get into like their creative community and stuff. Yet it's like their silhouette is still like they can't block out of that silhouette. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, boom, you have a collection from Prada today, and it's like, it's so wonderful when you get proof from the big establishment that it pays to make a move and to switch. What more could you want? It's like, we imagine these are young and new and talented designers, and it's like, are they really? I'm still seeing the same length. I'm still seeing the same silhouette. I want to see something new, let's go. This is fashion. It's not even helping anybody, so it should be major. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on. It's ridiculous. I think people take fashion so seriously. I mean, I'm definitely one of them, but I take it seriously in the sense that I know I'm just not fooled by fashion. I don't think you can't tell me I need to make clothes every 6 months. Not gonna happen. I'll make a collection every 5 years if I want. And I'll show 2,000 looks every 5 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think there's so much work to do in evolving fashion for now, 2000, because where are we gonna be in 2020, 2030? If we're, I mean, imagining that we're still here, you know? So it's like, what is the new, what are we gonna do? You know, already we've seen that Anna Wintour has totally, she's actually bowed down to the new generation. She's forced herself to become, to follow the brief. Because you can't trap people with trends and you must look this way like it was in the 70s anymore. In the 70s, all the collections, it was like swoosh, gypsy, there were 3 leaders and that was it. Now, individual identity separation is key now for brands. I mean, it's a norm. And this is something that I was talking about with Mark years ago. The reason I started working with Marc Jacobs was because I saw him in the street in Paris. I waved. He was really so responsive to me, and he's always been really nice. We've always waved each other in the street. He's been very, very sweet. And he basically invited me over to his house, and he showed me drawings of the new collection he was about to do for Louis Vuitton. This was like November 97. His first collection was in 98. And I saw it and I was like, well, it kind of looks like Prada, Miu Miu, and Jill Sandra to me. And he was like, well, I like it. And then when the articles came out, it said it looked like Miu Miu, Prada, and Jill Sandra. So obviously I was in at that point. And luckily he's not that type of proud person that is going to be like, well, because he could have lost his job at that point if he had continued in that same way. So it's important to be able to just forget yourself, laugh at yourself, know that you're a fool, and know that you're brilliant, and know everything about yourself. You know what I mean? Because you'll always change. It's not, nothing is fixed. Nothing is fixed. Nothing. So that's the reason that I do these things. Because I know that if I can archive these things properly, they'll be able to represent me more with a hint of, well, a suspicion of accuracy when I'm no longer here. People will be able to see, you know? And that's kind of what I like about fashion too. I like that historical factor about it. I like the interactive aspect of fashion, and I like the behavioral and the social aspect of fashion. I mean, I feel like now creating clothes, like Christopher Kane, for example, he's another one of those really cool designers. I think he's really amazing, yet he's still growing, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes when designers are still growing, they imagine what they think is, they imagine that, they have this idea of what they think is commercial and sellable. And it's like, just don't waste your time, you know? It's like, just do whatever you want. I swear to God, it's like, it's really and of course, take a look at the rules all the time. I mean, I was reading an article of mine in Village Voice, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, I was such a brat and a cow face when I was young. My God, it was disgusting. It said, there's an article, huge article, and it said, I'm not here to design a pencil skirt. That is not a contribution to fashion. And I'm like, oh my God, you're 18 years old and you're saying this? Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it kind of still remains the same difference. If you can design that pencil skirt or that boring look and give it the same conviction that Vivienne Westwood or Margiela or any of these other people give the same conviction to, or Zoran for that fact, then we're talking. Fashion is about conviction. Artwork is about, making art is about conviction. I mean, there are people who who think this is a piece of crap. They think, oh my God, it's overloaded with it's too rich, it's icky, it's this, it's that. But you know, it's all about what you want to do. You know, you have to sometimes just deal with yourself and like look at your insides and see what you have to, what you really want to show. It's not always going to be easy though. Yet you can make it easy just from having tons of great friends, being open at parties, being a really cool person and not a snob, even though you're a real bitch. You know what I mean? Like, excuse me.
No, it's wonderful.
But I know, right?
But does anyone else have some more questions or further questions that Andre might want to answer?
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the purpose of the website.
Say this again.
The website that you have that deals with artists and
Oh yeah, we have.
how they come together.
Oh, the purpose of the website? The purpose of the website was to have a website so that people, when people asked us if we had a website, we would say we had a website. For the moment. But at least the forum exists and we can always expand on it. I mean, we're looking to animate it a lot more. I mean, so if there's anyone that wants to work on the website, we're actually we're looking for people actually at the moment. Ronnie is taking care of our social media. I'm kind of, well, I am always there too, you know. So I just that's just not what I do, you know. I can tell me.
So I just want to tell you how good it feels to be here and feel your energy, because we kind of spend a lot of our time not really being as open and being surrounded by people who are, I don't know, closed off. So
right.
It just feels really terrific, and thank you for coming in.
Sweet. Thank you. Cool. This was great. I mean, I'm surprised. I've had a really great time, and this is a total pleasure for me, and it actually makes me feel great. I've had a really wonderful time. Cool. And if I spit one more spitball when I talk, I'm gonna really be embarrassed. Okay. So cool. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Mwah.
It was so interesting.
Mwah.